Hi everybody, I'm here in Seattle at Tent City 3, and this is Pastor Jan and Camp Advisor Roger.
Yeah.
And I apologize, this is my first time coming to Tent City 3, having come here so often. It's a very unique situation, and it's best to let them talk about it, but Tent City 3, from what I understand, is self-governed.
Yep.
It's a separate entity, but then you allow them on your property.
We even invite them.
You invite them?
Yes.
Oh my gosh,
We welcome them.
It's so amazing. So first off, can you tell me a little bit about Tent City 3?
So Tent City 3 is a self-managed homeless camp made of homeless individuals. We do everything ourselves. The only thing we don't provide is the water and electricity that the church provides us. Our governance is we elect 5 executive committee members every week to govern the camp and run it day to day. My position as camp advisor is to train them, because I've been here for 4 years. I pretty much know what's going on. So we elect those every week. We elect the kitchen coordinators, we elect the maintenance master, we elect the every position that needs doing is elected. No one is here by fiat of some staff person somewhere. Everything we do is done by ourselves.
Wow. And you have to rotate. You can only stay at certain areas because of an ordinance, I understand.
Well, the ordinance, depending on where we are. In 2002, Share and Wheel, Tent City 3, became subject to something called the consent decree between the city of Seattle and Tent City 3 and El Centro de la Rosa, because the city had sued us for violating zoning regulations and a whole bunch of other stuff, and they took us to court. They wanted their $16,000 or however much it was. I don't even remember. I wasn't here. And the judge said, he more or less told the city that he was going to rule against them and that they would be well advised to seek a settlement. And the consent decree resulted from that settlement. But what the consent decree did was it set in stone a number of things we were already doing. So we were already circulating between churches about every 90 days. We were already having securities patrol the neighborhoods. We were already allowing about 100 people in camp. We were already doing all those things that we do. There's fire extinguishers everywhere. It's everything that the consent decree said to do, we were already doing, except one. And it was a deal breaker for the city if we were to allow minors in camp. So at that time, we gave that up. The consent decree expired in 2012, and since then we've been working on getting the ability back to have minors with guardians in camp. And we just did that here at this site. We actually have, I think, 1 minor right now with her guardian. We had another one, but I believe they've left camp. I'm not sure about that. But yeah, we rotate every 60 to 90 days, not because of any law, because like the city of Tukwila has no rules regarding encampments. It's just, is it permissible? Of course it's permissible. The state of Washington said, it's permitted for a religious institution to host an encampment for purposes of helping the homeless. Perfectly permissible. And it better be, because the Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act of 2000 says churches get to do basically anything they want to do in the pursuit of their religious freedom. So, but we rotate every 90 days to balance the load among the churches. Before we were here, we were at St. Dunstan's in Shoreline, St. Dunstan's Episcopal Church, and we had been working for years to get them to host us. And they finally says, yeah, sure, we'll host you. And about 3 weeks in, they realized this is a great deal. The neighborhood is cleaned up because we send people out to pick up the litter. The interurban trail there by St. Dunstan's was no longer filled with crackheads and druggies. It was clean. People could walk along it in peace because we were there. not to say that we caused this, but it resulted because we were there, because we sent securities out, and we have no hesitation about calling the cops about some crap.
You
Absolutely
lend value.
none.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
Okay, we lend value to the community. And now we understand that there are issues with having 100 homeless in camp, in the area, because we're people just like anybody else. But, you know, the Tukwila police chief some years ago says, you know, it's actually not as intrusive as having 100 apartment dwellers in the community, because one, we police ourselves and apartment dwellers don't.
Right.
You know, the landlord, he might be responsible for that crack house in his apartment, but he's not going to go in and police it.
Yeah. No,
We will.
totally understand.
We will. I mean, we don't allow drunks or drugs. We don't allow alcohol in camp, no violence, no threats, no intimidation. We don't even allow most derogatory language in camp because of what it does to the community.
So, Pastor, I've been in meetings in Los Angeles, and I'm sure it happens all over the place, and we're just talking about mobile homeless. And I've seen groups of churches and faith-based organizations say, we feel sorry for these people, but we can't let them use our parking lot. You know what I mean? And here, you're sharing a garden, you're helping with water and power. Why?
Because we know the value of human life. So these folks deserve to be treated with dignity, and we're just open to figuring out how to help people in the best way we can. And we have a community meal, and when Tent City is here, it brings another 100 people to that community meal. And so I approached my cooks the other night and said, so how do you feel about this? And they said, are they hungry? I said, well, I would guess. They said, well, then we'll just cook 100 more meals. And so that's kind of the attitude here, that if something needs to happen, then we just make it happen. If a couple needs to park their car in the parking lot because they're living in their car and they keep getting chased around town, park in the parking lot.
And we just did a tour of your basement, where you're letting families live,
Right.
of different faiths.
Right.
And then we walk down the hall, and you have people from Bosnia and Iraq and just all these different. I mean, God, talk about multicultural.
It's wonderful.
And they're all in there working in your pantries and your offices and helping. That's amazing.
Yes. Sign language is our usual language, and not the real kind of sign language, but the kind that says you go there by pointing, because our languages are so different.
Wow.
And
Because I wouldn't think of this as a major hub of, international.
Oh, but it is.
I'm realizing that now.
This is the most diverse school district in the nation, according to the New York Times.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, what would you say to other churches about doing something like this? And when we walked in, she was talking about how that you guys run security details and you help clean up the neighborhood, and
Well, I think it is a learning process for a lot of neighborhoods and churches. I think the first time Tent City came here and had their community meeting to invite the neighbors to talk about what it was like, a lot of people showed up to explore and to figure out what were going to be the challenges and how were they going to be taken care of.
Yeah.
And this time when we had one person show up who was curious, because all the other neighbors are very comfortable. So it's a learning process. The neighborhood will get comfortable knowing that these are just people doing their best, just like the rest of us.
And Randy, I try to keep these.
Roger.
Sorry, Randy is the guy at the front.
Yeah, that's right.
So try to keep these short. And as we're talking about tent communities, in most neighborhoods, shun these things. What would you say to people that, because it's not only finding a host home, it's these people out there.
Well, so part of this is our reputation at Sin City 3. We have a reputation that when we give our word, we keep it. If we say we're going to do something, we do it. If we say we're going to be out by a certain date, we are. Like our date for here is July 12th. We will be gone July 12th.
Right.
Probably late in the evening July 12th, but we'll be gone July 12th.
It's a lot of work, I bet.
And
Okay.
I'll be very sad.
And St. Dunstan's was sad to have us leave.
But you have them
But
coming back, what,
most-
7 times now?
Yeah.
But
That's
most
awesome.
of our hosts started like this one,
Yeah.
a little trepid, a little, not quite sure that this is the right thing to do or how it's going to work out. But because we are who we say we are, that
Yeah.
we do what we say, we keep our word,
Yeah.
and we do our best to keep our community in line with our promises.
Yep.
It almost always works out for the best. Now, there have been times in Tent City 3's history where that hasn't been so. And we haven't gone back to those hosts. There's one about 8 blocks from here where we had some issues. But like at Prince of Peace Lutheran in Shoreline, we take up most of their parking lot when we're there.
Wow.
We've been there like 8 times. Okay, they have a parking lot that's about half this size.
And you don't mess with Christians parking or their food, right?
Well, they have a parking lot across the road that many of them can park in, and the others line up and down the road. But they love to have us there.
Yeah.
And there are other churches where we take up a lot of their parking lot, and they love to have us there.
Yeah.
I think a lot is just a matter of, okay, these are just 100 people. They're just like your neighbors across the street, but they don't have solid roofs.
Yeah.
Our roofs are canvas, but they're still roofs. Oddly enough, many homeless people share middle-class American values. It's really kind of odd that, but don't get me wrong, we have drunks and druggies and mental health issues.
Everybody,
And as long as they
does every
behave
apartment
themselves
building.
here,
the soccer mom's hitting the pipe, the
welcome.
postman's
Yeah.
doing the pills, you know what I mean? The lawyer's out there,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
They just can hide it because
but
they aren't as public.
as long as they're doing their stuff here,
Yeah.
they're staying away from the booze in camp, they're not intoxicated in camp,
Moving forward.
they're doing their community participation here, because that's another factor, is we require participation in the camp. We can't govern this camp without everyone's involvement. Okay, all the campers must involve themselves. So we
It's a
have the
community.
guys doing it, the
Yeah.
securities at the desk are our campers.
Yeah.
The guys, the people sitting behind the desk are our campers. The people handling the meals are our campers. It all goes in and everyone has to participate, or
It's
it
what all
doesn't work.
communities should be doing,
Yeah,
but we've
Period.
lost
right,
it.
Right. No, I get it.
Yeah.
I love this model. I've always said I love this model. As many of you who have seen Home is, I really wish there was low-income housing or support services or something so people didn't have to live in tents. But
So do
since
we.
yeah, so do you. I think this is a slap in the face of homeless services because this shouldn't exist.
That's right.
But since there's no support, this is gorgeous. This is really, really gorgeous, and I get emotional because I hate when tent communities have a bad rap. And yes, there's some bad, and there's good and bad and ugly. But anyways, thank you for having me. I love your church. Oh my God, what a gorgeous place! And it was the people walking through,
Yeah,
just
it's-
totally massive. And if you're watching this, please share it with people. This is, homeless people are real people, and tent communities aren't all bad. And the bottom line is we need to get the support to get them out of tents. And until that support's there, give them a chance. Because, like Pastor said, value human life.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.